Hi, my name is Maria and I will tell you a little bit about the coherence principle. I will go over a brief overview description, some of the guidelines for use, examples, and finally some challenges of this principle. So to get started, the coherence principle's main aim is to keep lessons uncluttered. It suggests to avoid using any material that does not support the instructional goals and that can be distracting, disruptive, or activating irrelevant prior knowledge, even though it may seem visually appealing. Seductive details such as background sound, too much text, or overwhelming graphics can overload the learner's attention and working memory. So, in short, the coherence principle recommends weeding out seductive visuals, text, and sound not essential to the lesson and its objectives, and ultimately promotes the idea that less is more. So, the first guideline for use is to avoid extraneous audio. According to this principle, background music and sound can be distracting and disruptive when learning a new concept. Thus, they should be avoided. Extraneous audio can also overload the working memory, which is limited, and in turn make learners lose focus over main narration. The second guideline for use is to avoid extraneous graphics. Extraneous graphics such as video and pictures should be avoided, and they should not be used just to pretty up pages. They too can be distracting and disruptive, especially when irrelevant to the learning objective, and in turn they can activate irrelevant prior knowledge. Extraneous graphics prevent the learner from processing essential information and hinder him or her from making sense of the information on his or her own. And finally, the third guideline for use is to avoid extraneous words. Extraneous words and text should also be avoided, as screen real estate and bandwidth are limited, and they too overload the working memory. Research has found that using simple and concise text to describe content and narration is proven to be more effective for learning as opposed to detailed text, which prevents learners from constructing their own knowledge and understanding. So moving on to some examples. The first example here is with regards to extraneous graphics. This first illustration is a good example of extraneous graphics that are added for interest and that are unrelated to the lesson. While the lesson is intended to teach about lightning formation, the extra visuals and details, captioned details, are unnecessary. Thus, this type of illustration should be avoided altogether. In the second example here, this is a good example for using simpler versus more detailed visuals. In a study conducted by Butcher in 2006, it was found that using simpler drawings, such as the one in Figure A, was more effective, and there was a greater attempt for understanding of how the heart works, as opposed to using a more detailed illustration like the one in Figure B. And finally, an example about using extraneous words, where the aim was to promote learning of a targeted material, and namely using spreadsheets. In the image on the left here, the text is extensive and it overly details the spreadsheet concept, while not even having a graphic of the spreadsheet. However, in the image on the right, the text is leaner, and it is combined with relevant visuals explaining the concept at hand, the actual spreadsheet. Looking at some of the challenges of this principle, while it is effective for beginner learners or when learning a new concept, it is not very effective for experienced learners, those who may benefit from some graphics for added visuals or for more detailed illustrations. In summary, in order to adhere to the coherence principle, it is important to follow the three guidelines: the ones of avoiding extraneous sound, graphics, and words, and ultimately, less is more. Thanks for listening and watching.